Someone asked me, they said, Burt, you said that if you know the four human laws of survival, it will make everything clear and you'll understand the whole human journey. So could you briefly explain what these four laws of human survival are? Okay. As you know, I've done about 27 years of reading, research, study, to the point where I wrote a book, I had TV series, and after having a vision of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. But the point was that I didn't really realize fully what I had read, studied, and practiced until the year 2000, when I was faced with a very difficult situation in my life, a relationship that I couldn't solve, that I couldn't understand, that I didn't know what to do about it. And in that exasperation, in that frustration, in that state of knowing that I didn't know anything except what I read and studied and practiced, in other words, there was no clear focus coming from me, it was that innocence, that surrender, that actually brought me the understanding that I am a human being. And so this is what came about, is that there are four laws of human survival. Now the first law is you're a human being. But we have to understand here that even though we seem to know it, that I am a human being, that the human and the being are totally opposite each other. Totally. One is a becoming process, the being is. And so while the human is constantly striving, moving forward, trying to better itself, seeking all the time, that's its nature, questioning, evaluating, analyzing, figuring out, and yet it doesn't see the obviousness of its true nature, which is being. Okay, and why is that? Because the being part, which is opposite the human, is the most frightening, horrifying thing to the human. See, because the being is a nothingness, the being is an emptiness, the being just is. There is no way that the human linear mind can understand something like that. But it is only when we start exploring the being that we see that everything is being, appearing as human. For example, in this room, it feels very quiet except for my voice and a few things outside. But did you know that this room is filled with sound vibrations, cosmic vibrations, waves of energy? And so we use tools in order to get to know these vibrations, this expansive state, to know the infinite in us. For example, technology, we have a cell phone. You dial a number, you send a sound signal to the party who has that number, and before you know it, you're talking. You see? So what you're doing is having an instrument in which it receives the sound waves that are present. The same with TV, the same with all the technology that we are becoming or developing at this moment. It is nothing more than instruments or receivers for this energy. Even the brain, even the human part is a receiver of this energy. But this energy, which is indefinable, indescribable, never-ending, beginningless source of is who we are. So initially, the human being is very much afraid of the being. So it emphasizes the human. Okay, law number two. Law number two is this, that there isn't a time that the human is not seeking the being, but it doesn't know it. So it does it through the world. But the qualities that it wants, for example, it wants a big house. Why? Because it makes you feel comfortable, it makes you feel at home. You see? Qualities of the being. The same, you know, you buy a car, you feel the freedom and the power, you know, and you Ferrari and you Bentley, it doesn't matter. Okay? So in other words, we are expressing our need for the being through physical means, through the world. There isn't a time when we are not seeking the being, not one single moment. In fact, this is all the human is doing, seeking. But it never arrives anywhere until the being is experienced. Why? Because the being is that invisible nothingness, no thingness, in other words, that is happiness itself, that is love itself, that is freedom itself. Feel these feelings, feel these essence, how they are the nothing itself. You know, just looking into a child's face and seeing that joy, where is it coming from? You know, he's 1 year old, playing with his fingers. It's coming from his own nature of pure being. Did you ever watch kittens or puppies? Their affection, their love, their naturalness, their natural joyous energy. This is part of the consciousness that is pure. So that is the second lesson of the survival of the human, is understanding that all it ever wants is the being. When it begins to find out that it wants the being, it moves, which is the third law, is that it starts to sabotage it. Again, because of the initial fear. You see? That we're afraid of the being. So we're still in the process of understanding being. So the third one is called unconscious guilt. Coming from that one ego. There is only one ego. There aren't many egos. There's only one ego, and it has own characteristics, which is fear. The characteristics of ego are separation, in other words, you see. So we want to separate all the time. You know, we do not see the expansiveness where we're just an instrument to see that we are all this. And yet that ego part in us, that one ego part in us says, oh no, me, I am separate, I am different, I am unique. And so that's what the one ego is doing. So when a person is caught in the ego, they all act the same from the ego. Selfish, needy, feeling sorry for themselves, thinking I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me, I am missing something. Well, of course, because they haven't really immersed themselves into the being nature. And then we move to the fourth. The fourth is the most beautiful part because we integrate human and being. How do we make the becoming into being? Very easy. Everything is a becoming process, but the being already is what we are striving for. So this is how we integrate, by seeing that everything that we want to be is already the case. And all we need to do is not achieve it, not accomplish it, but awaken it. To see that we are already the peace and the love and the joy that we want, actually, so desperately. Because the more miserable we are, the heavier the seeking towards meaning, towards being. But we don't know it. That being is being you at this moment. It's an eternal, infinite essence of you. And so very, very briefly, these are the four. I hope it is clear. If it isn't, then email me and I'll give you some more details. Okay. Thank you. I hope it has helped.